Okay. All right. So the theme for this evening is cultivating emotional intelligence through mindfulness. Cultivating emotional intelligence through mindfulness. And as I mentioned, these two key constructs, emotional intelligence and mindfulness, are constructs that we really don't talk much about. And although they have very significant roles to play in our general well-being and in our ability to relate with others and, as we would say, flourish, we barely know much about these two things. And how now, as we go through this particular presentation, one thing that will be happening is that your mind will be going places. We can guarantee that at some point, your thoughts will not be in relation to what exactly we are doing on this particular call. We can guarantee that you may begin to think about what will happen tomorrow. You may begin to wander into the week and the stress that awaits you, or the joys that you expect to have within the coming week. Tomorrow is Monday. The whole stressor, effect that comes with waking up on Monday and going to work and all that is something that I'm sure within the next few minutes, your mind will go to. And that is because as human beings, we have this ability, cognitive ability, to go places in our mind, to travel in our mind to things that have happened in our past, things that are happening in our present, and things that are happening in or will happen in the future. So we can create memories that either exist from our past or even create events that haven't happened before. And that is why you can be having a conversation with someone, and once they are talking, your mind can travel to the kind of conclusion that you may both arrive at, because you have that capacity to make judgments based on what you see or what you hear. And this ability to think beyond what is happening now and be able to process information that has already been given or is yet to be given, which you are expecting, is good. It's a good ability that we have for our minds to be able to travel and take us down memory lane and way into the future. However, with this ability comes the problem where, if we are not careful, we will not be able to stay in the present moment and enjoy the present moment and be able to give our all to the things that we need to be doing here and now. And so at the workplace, when you are given certain tasks or you have certain assignment or tasks to complete, while you are doing it, your mind is off to another task that you either didn't complete or need to complete. And it is normal that your mind will wander, but your ability to stay here is something that mindfulness is going to help you to do. And in emotional intelligence, as we will understand, we learn how to be able to regulate ourselves in order to achieve the best for ourselves. And there's one particular research that we would want to take a look at, and it will help us to understand why this particular topic is important to us. And it is a research work that was done by two researchers, Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert. Now, these two individuals decided to look into how this wandering of our mind, WANDERING, so not WO, the wandering of our mind into past and into future, and we contemplating on things that have happened in the past rather than concentrating on what we are doing now, how all of this happens and why it takes an effect on our happiness. And being happy, being satisfied is one key component of what we refer to as our mental well-being. Your subjective well-being basically describes how satisfied you are in the present moment and how happy you are with yourself and with your life. So what they decided to do was to do some random, texts that goes to quite a lot of individuals, a lot of participants, around 5,000 people participated in this particular research, where they send a text, a pop-up, message comes to your phone, wherever you are. If you sign on to it, a pop-up comes to your phone, and once the pop-up comes to your phone, you have three key questions that are asked. The first part is a question that asks you, how are you feeling right now? So as we are in this meeting, how are you feeling? Can you tell how you are feeling? So you answer on a certain sliding scale where 0 is bad and 100 is very good. So you rate yourself on that scale. HMD, you are saying no sound. Please, can you hear me? You can type yes in the chat if you can. Okay, so HMD, please, you can log off and then rejoin. So now the first question is asking for how you are feeling now. So as we are in this meeting, you want to answer that question for yourself. How are you feeling now? And on a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 means you are feeling very bad and 100 means you are feeling very good, you rate yourself. Now, while you are at that, the second question comes to ask you, what are you doing right now? I believe that right now, what you are doing, which is your key focus, is that you are in this meeting, this webinar, listening to wisdom present on the topic, cultivating emotional intelligence through mindfulness. So that is the activity you are doing right now. Now, the third question comes and it asks you, are you thinking about something other than what you are currently doing? So you want to also answer that question. While we are in this meeting, are you thinking of something other than what you are currently doing? So these questions pop up randomly during the course of your day over a period of time, so months, just to track how within the course of your day at random times you are feeling in that moment, whether you can tell how you are feeling, whether you can tell if your mind is wandering, is moving about. When we say your mind is wandering means that it is going all over the place without a particular focus. So you are thinking of what you will eat this evening, and in another moment you are thinking about work tomorrow or school tomorrow. So it's just going all places without a particular focus. So they did that particular study using more than 5,000, over around 5,000 people. And the findings are quite interesting. The first key thing they realized in relation to how individuals' mind is wandering and its effects on their happiness, which, they also measured. They found that number one, individuals' minds wandered frequently, regardless of what they were doing during a particular period of time. So whether I am eating, whether I am in a class, whether I am at a certain food joint, whatever it is that the individual is doing, the mind wanders, moves about, goes places in the past, in the future, goes all around frequently, regardless of what you are doing at what particular time, including when you think you are resting. There are times where you are resting, but the mind is going all over the place, and that makes it difficult for you to rest. The second, so in relation to the first key finding, they realized that for 46.9% of the sample, the mind was found to be wandering. So the wandering of the mind was something that they found occurring in those random times that the messages come, in 46.9% of the individuals involved. And in at least 30% of the samples, when they were doing a particular activity, like in this case, while you are in this meeting, except while they are making love or, having sex. So you see the mind wandering in quite a good number of the participants in the study. And interestingly, the nature of what you are doing doesn't really matter when it comes to how your mind wanders. So it can be an important task you are working on. It can be a trivial task. It can be something related to your work. The nature of the activity really doesn't influence much how your mind travels around or wanders. And when it comes to the kind of topic your mind wanders to, the things you think about, the nature of what you are doing doesn't have any impact. It has little to no impact on whether that thing you think about is pleasant. So the pleasantness of the topics to which your mind wanders isn't really affected or determined by the nature of the activities that you are engaged in. So I can be working on an account, doing, balancing, a certain account, and then my mind wanders to, a conversation that I'm supposed to have with a friend, or wanders to the fact that I'm hungry and Auntie Maggie's watching may finish before I get there. So the nature of the activity really does not, for the most part, influence what your mind is wandering to. The second key thing they found is that people were less happy when their minds were wandering than when they were not. So if I'm involved in a meeting, I'm engaged in a task. So in this instance, while you are in this meeting, if the mind is not traveling, going all around, thinking about a lot of things without focus, you are likely to be less happy than when your mind is more focused on this particular meeting. And they found this to be true during all activities, including the least enjoyable. So including activities that you don't really enjoy much. If your mind is focused or is stayed on what you are doing, you are likely to be more happy than if your mind is going all about looking for things and thinking about things unrelated to what you are doing. So although people's mind was more likely to wander to pleasant topics, and beautiful memory, some good news that they heard and all that, than to unpleasant topics or topics that really do not have much impact or effect, going to a game that your team lost, or somebody who said something you didn't like and all that, people were no happier when they were thinking about pleasant topics than when they are thinking about their current activity. And the idea is that the more focused you are on what you are doing now, the happier you are likely to be than if your mind is going all around the place. And would get to understand a few things in that regard shortly. So people were considerably unhappier, again, when they were thinking about neutral topics or unpleasant topics than about their current activity. So if your mind is wandering, going all over the place in this moment, going to your child's issues that they have, your family issues, going all over the place, you are likely to be less happier as compared to if your mind is focused on this current meeting. And the third key finding was that what people were thinking about, what you are thinking about right now, is a better predictor of their happiness than what they were doing or are doing in the moment. So while we are in this meeting, there may be some interesting things that we talk about. But if your mind is focused on something other than what we are talking about here, what you are thinking about, what is occupying your mind within this period, if it is the food you have not yet eaten, that thought, what you are thinking about, will determine how happy you are with this meeting than the fact that there is this meeting happening and you are part of it. So if we get ourselves wandering in our minds, then it means that what we are wandering to will influence our state of happiness or satisfaction in the moment. And that helps you to see why you can be watching a wonderful movie, everybody is enjoying it, but you may not be enjoying it because your mind is on an exam that is coming, or your mind is on something that somebody did to you or said to you, or somebody within that room that you do not like. So because your focus, your thoughts are on that person in that room that you do not like, the interesting nature of the movie will not determine your happiness in that moment. It is what your mind, your thoughts are occupied with. That person I do not like, and how they are laughing and, or look at his face and all that. That is what will determine how happy you are. So based on the, analysis that was done, they found that the nature of people's activities explained 4.6% of the within person variance. And within person variance is basically talking about how you, in terms of you over time, how happy you are. So how happy you are the first time we sent the message asking for how you are feeling, what you are doing, and what you are thinking about. The happiness level at that time and the next random time, that is the within person variance in happiness. So the nature of what you are doing, the kind of activity you are doing, whether it is official or unofficial, whatever kind of activity it is, explain 4.6% of how happy you are and how that happiness over time changes. And it also explained 3.2% of the between person variance in happiness, meaning that when it comes to comparing how happy people are, comparing me to you and to someone else, the nature of what we are engaged in now, in this case, an online, seminar, or as in this case, a webinar, only explain 3.2% of the difference in how happy we will be. So comparing us, different people. But interestingly, what your mind is thinking about in the moment, beyond or aside what is happening or what you are doing. If your mind is wandering, what it is wandering to, all those things it is wandering to, explain 10.8% of how happy you are and how that happiness over time would change, the differences in how happy you will be over time. And it also explains 17.7% of the differences in how happy each individual, comparing different people, will be. So if you are in the classroom and your mind is wandering to what's happened or transpired between you and your spouse, the fight or the argument, it will mean that in the classroom, as you are teaching, the level of joy and happiness with which you will teach will not be, for the most part, dependent on the fact that you are teaching maybe a topic that you like teaching, but it will be dependent on what happened before you came to school and the fact that your mind keeps wandering to what your spouse said and how the whole thing happened. So in essence, while the nature of what you are doing, the kind of activity you are doing, and the fact that your mind is going places, your mind is wandering, will affect your level of happiness or satisfaction. Now, mind wandering was found to be more substantial in terms of how it impacts your happiness, both within you over time and you and others in terms of, comparison. And this made them to conclude with two important statements. The first statement, which we see as the subtopic or heading for this, section, is that the human mind is a wandering mind, and a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So based on the findings that they got from these substantial amount of participants, although you may have some argument that 5,000 is not enough in terms of, looking at a global kind of research as they would. It is a good number of people to be able to make some conclusions out of. And they concluded that if your mind is wandering, going all over the place, instead of remaining attentive or focused on what you are doing now, whether it's something you like, whether it's a fun activity, or it's something you don't like, it's not a fun activity, your mind will be unhappy. So picture it this way. You are in a room, and in the room, maybe during this meeting, you are in your room and you want to listen to this particular presentation. Then all of a sudden, somebody starts playing a very, high level music. Boom, 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 with all the things, and you hear people shouting and dancing. And then somebody is standing behind your window, making a call and laughing. And, various things are happening all around you. What will begin to happen to you? So that is what is happening to your mind if it is not able to pay attention to the here and now, if it is wandering. And so the second conclusive statement they make is that the ability to think about what is not happening in the moment is a cognitive achievement, meaning, as we mentioned from the beginning, it's an important cognitive ability we have. But that comes at an emotional cost. And this emotional cost is where, in not being able to keep our mind in what we say the here and now, focused on the current activity we are doing, the current situation we are in, we end up not being able to manage our responses. So we become reactional rather than responsive. We are not able to take time to think through things and do, because there's so much activity happening. And if we want to go in a neurological sense, we can say that there's a lot of neural activity happening in your brain. So it's like there's too much firing of messages, signals, too much of it happening. And that is where anxiety sets in. There's too much activity happening. And instead of your mind to be able to stay on the present activity, it is thinking about tomorrow, thinking about yesterday, thinking about things that are not even probable. So you are having a conversation, and because the person made a comment from the beginning you did not like, it affects how you listen to them all throughout their speech or what they say. You go for a meeting, and when you entered, you are probably you are someone who is notable, and once you entered, you were expecting that people would be happy to see you and people will get up and all that. And when you entered, there was no excitement about you coming in. Now your mind begins to wander. Instead of focusing on the reason why you are there, it's going to why the people did not show some excitement when you came. Why didn't they get up? Why didn't, all of this now becomes a hindrance to your ability to stay focused and be able to deliver to your best. And some people at the end of the day are not able to have a very comfortable life, because in every situation, they are thinking about too many things, jumping, as we say, into conclusions that are not even there. And that affects their relationships. So there's an emotional cost to mind wandering. And that is why being mindful is important as a way of learning to control and manage your emotions. So the result of this study points us to what we are talking about, the role of mindfulness and emotional intelligence as two distinct or different constructs that are related in some ways in promoting sound mental health. Please, I hope we are on the same page. There will be a time for contributions and questions. You can note your comments and questions down. Now, what is this emotional intelligence? A lot of times, what we focus on is what we call the intelligence quotient, the IQ, the intelligence quotient. And so there are a lot of tests to measure individuals' IQ, and a lot of assessments on intelligence level and all of that. And in our school structure, in our education structure, the focus is on how we are able to, in mathematics, solve a lot of questions and get it right. How you are able to recall the history of Ghana, history of, and mention years and all those things. So recall, in terms of intelligence, we are focused on recall. We are focused on your ability to, solve problems, math problems, and get 100 over 100, 90 over 100, and all those kinds of things. So intelligence to many of us is more intellectual. And in doing that, you would find somebody that is intellectually good, but emotionally, they are very, very unintelligent. And we'll understand why. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, it is a form of intelligence. So you have your intelligence quotient in terms of intellectual intelligence. We have the social kind of intelligence and all the kinds. Emotional intelligence is one of the important ones. And if we begin to understand it and even teach it in school, I wish there was a way we could be teaching, kids how to be emotionally intelligent. At home, if you are able to do that, then we'll be building a society where people don't only know how to, rattle a poem or whatever it is, but they are able to also understand when they are stepping too much on other people's emotions and when they are also getting out of board or out of touch with their own emotions. And it basically refers to three key things: your ability to identify emotions, evaluate or process that emotion, and use that emotion to manage your actions or behaviors. So the ability to identify, evaluate, and properly manage personal emotions as well as the emotions of others. That is emotional intelligence. And the APA Dictionary of Psychology, APA standing for American Psychological Association, defines the emotional intelligence as a type of intelligence that involves the ability to process emotional information and use it in reasoning and other cognitive activities. So your ability to process emotional information. And what is emotional information? There are a lot of emotions that we express. And in this particular meeting, there are some of us that probably are sad while, you are here. There's something that has made you sad and you are thinking about that thing. Probably you don't have, money for the week. It's something your mind may be wandering to. There probably are some people that are angry with someone. So there are different kinds of emotions, whether positive or negative. So you would find in this image different kinds of emotions. And we are able to recognize these emotions quite a number of times from people's facial expressions or how they behave. Now, the information that emotion is communicated, a lot of times we miss it. So you can be having a conversation with somebody, they are getting angry, you do not realize it. And then you keep saying what you are saying until the point where they burst out. And once they burst out, you are now wondering why the person got angry. What I was even saying, but if you were able to identify that what you were saying, the person was getting uncomfortable, and you were able to process that discomfort coming from their emotions, how they are becoming jittery, or how their face suddenly changed from being all smiley to having a neutral face. If you were able to evaluate that, take that into consideration, then it will now be something that you use to change the direction of what you were saying, or if you will, manage the conversation in a better way so that they don't end up getting to that level of anger that could have been avoided. So in many cases, once you are able to identify the change in the person's posture, the emotional information that is coming, then for some people, they would say that I hope you are okay with the what I'm saying so far. If you have any challenge, you can let me know so that we look at it. They do that so that the individual who they have realized is becoming emotionally uncomfortable, realizes that I can see you are probably not comfortable with the way the discussion is going. And that is you being emotionally intelligent in that particular situation. You are in a particular, session where you are doing a presentation, and along the line, you make a certain statement, and within the crowd or the audience, there are some people that probably are not happy with the statement. Maybe it's a political statement, and you mention somebody that is their favorite candidate. If you realize the response For some people, it will be in their face. For some people, they will pass a comment, just a random comment. If you are able to stay within the moment and capture that change in how they are responding to you, then you can rectify the damage you have caused within that particular presentation by either vilifying or making an example that was in bad taste. So emotional intelligence is important. And the fact that it is not something we talk about more and we don't pay attention to is I would say, very suicidal, if that is a good way to put it. It's like we are committing an error on our part if we do not pay attention to this particular subject. And there are 5 key facets. If you do other readings, you may see more or you may see less. But there are 5 key facets of emotional intelligence that we want to talk about. And then we will now tie in the mindfulness and see how it can help us to improve. Now, the first key area is what we call self-awareness. And there's this popular saying. Selassie Piche, I've seen your comment in the chat. I'll respond shortly. Mind wandering is different from what we call visualization. And we'll talk about visualization, which is positive visualization, as a mindful practice. Mind wandering is not a healthy one. Yes, as we mentioned, your mind can go places, but if there's no structure to how the mind is roaming, that is why it is wandering. It is going about aimlessly. If we say someone is wandering, the person is moving about aimlessly. And that kind of mind activity is something that is not helpful in staying here and now. So we'll talk about positive visualization as a mindful technique. So we have self-awareness, and a quote quite known from Socrates, the philosopher. It says that the unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. If you are not someone who takes time to examine yourself, then your life is not worth living. And there is something that we would usually say, that you should know yourself. Man, know thyself. It is important because if you know yourself, then it helps you to also relate better with other people. And when it comes to your emotions, knowing how you feel in particular situations is important. If you are not able to track how, if somebody gives you, a certain kind of look, it makes you feel, or somebody mentions your name in a certain manner, it makes you angry. I know quite a number of people, a couple of friends, if you mention their surnames wrongly, it's like they are angry that you have mentioned their surname in a very abnormal, so to speak, way. So if I'm not aware of this tendency for my emotions to be hurt by certain activities, then there is a challenge. So self-awareness is saying that knowing and understanding who you are is the first key to developing emotional intelligence. And when we get into the facets or components of mindfulness, we'll talk about this same awareness of self, this ability to observe and understand what is happening with you as one of the key areas of mindfulness. So the self-awareness is important. How do I feel in particular situations? You need to take time to write it. In my workplace, usually if I am in my boss's office, how do I usually feel? Are there certain things that he or she says that makes me feel less of myself? What are these things? Are there certain things that people do that for the most part, even if I'm happy and they do it, suddenly I change, I become angry or I become sad? Taking time and in the most cases, writing those things down is a way of building that awareness of yourself. And it is a key step so that you can process the emotions that you feel or the emotions that come your way in particular instances. You ask somebody, so why do you not like, speaking in public? They tell you, I'm afraid. Why are you afraid? I don't know, even if you put them in front of a group of people, students, young people, or children who basically do not even have a command over the things they know, they will still struggle. But they cannot tell exactly why they struggle. So the inability to understand why you feel anxious in those situations is something that will hinder your ability to overcome that difficulty in speaking. So self-awareness is very key. And there are a number of ways that you are able to build this self-awareness, including taking time to reflect on your day, do some introspection on your grooming and certain experiences you've had, and how day to day certain people's actions and inactions affect you. The second key component is empathy. And empathy talks about how we are able to experience the other person's world as if we are part of it. So we would say putting yourself in another person's shoe. So if somebody is angry, are you able to realize it? Somebody will say, whatever you do, I don't care. If you like, you can cry. I don't mind. I'll say what is on my mind. You are emotionally, excuse me to say stupid. You are very, very unintelligent emotionally. So if you don't have that self-awareness, it even affects how you are able to know and, feel what other people are feeling. You will not make careless statements in conversations or when it relates to other people. Just because you are feeling bad, then you vent it on other people. And you don't understand why they should be angry or they should be unhappy. You should know that I wasn't happy. That is why I spoke that way. No, if you are emotionally intelligent, one of the key things is to be able to recognize that other people have emotions and their emotions can be hurt. So if I'm relating with them, I should be able to track how their emotions are changing, what their viewpoints are. I should be able to step into their space, into their world, and understand. We may have different opinions, but it shouldn't be the case that I'm intolerant just because they do not side with me. In the workplace, there are some people who will bring up a suggestion and another person brings a contrary suggestion that maybe the team feels that one is more useful or is better to implement. You realize that the other person is angry and they will not partake in the initiative again because they feel that you did not take their own. And if you are talking about being emotionally intelligent, in both instances of the people who feel that the second option is the best, how you communicate that is important so that you do not step on the first person's ego or make them feel that their suggestion is useless. So how do you communicate it? And, in showing empathy and understanding that if somebody gives an opinion or a perspective or a suggestion and it is not taken, it can affect their emotion. Then you will be able to say that the suggestion that you gave is good. It's a great point. However, based on so and so, I think if we go with the second one, that will be good. What do you think? What is your thoughts about that? That is you showing that you are appreciating how the other person feels concerning the fact that you think the second option is the best. So when somebody is not happy, are you someone who can recognize it and tune your actions in a manner that will show that you understand they are not in the mood or they are not happy, or you don't care? You came to school. It is, it is compulsory that you partake in the activity. No, as a teacher who is emotionally intelligent, one of the key things about your intelligence is you being able to understand what is happening to that child and why they are not being themselves. And once you get to understand that, you can offer to them some help on how they can get themselves livened up. And that is a component of emotional intelligence. Then we talk about self-motivation, your ability to motivate yourself to do things. A lot of times, we focus, and I saw a post, I think earlier today or yesterday, of one gentleman I follow on Facebook. He was a colleague during my first degree. And he was asking a question as to whether people are just, heaping praises on him for the sake of it, or he really is good at writing. And this is a very good writer. His writing prowess is something that is so much good, top notch. But I don't know where that kind of question came. Maybe he was just thinking and wondering whether people are just giving him fans for nothing. And he was probably beginning to doubt his writing ability. And there were quite a number of comments. And one of them that came was that if you don't believe you are a good writer, then I also don't believe you are a good writer. And what the person was implying is that if a lot of us say you are a good writer, but you yourself, you are doubting whether you are a good writer and you think you are not, then I will agree with you that you are not. That ability to motivate ourselves and take steps or initiate action is a sign of building or having a good level of emotional intelligence. And it relates also to your ability to set goals. We know how to, do a lot of things at a go. And sometimes we end up doing what is urgent at a time when we should be doing something that is important. And there's this goal setting matrix that helps in this case, basically helping you to see how there are certain things in your life that may be important but not urgent. So this particular meeting is an important meeting and it is urgent because within the time of 7 to 9, if you don't partake in it, you cannot participate in the live session. So if I'm setting my goals for Sunday, then I should be able to fix in that particular meeting as an important and urgent task. So your ability to set goals and be able to see them through, your ability to celebrate yourself. Sometimes we are waiting for other people to celebrate us. We want someone to say your dress is nice before we are able to say that yes, indeed my dress is nice. And that is where someone wears a dress, goes somewhere, and instead of focusing on that particular maybe party or get together and enjoy the moment, stay in the here and now, their mind is wandering over what that person A is thinking or person B is thinking and all of that, because of the lack of that self-initiation, self-motivation. Find your why. That is an important component of self-motivation. Find your why. Why do I do so and so? If I'm building friendships, why do I build it? Understanding your why is important so that you'll be more self-motivated and self-directed. And you can then be able to do what the fourth component talks about, self-regulation. You can regulate how you feel in particular instances because you are now able to manage your thoughts by yourself. So in the context of emotional intelligence, self-regulation refers to your ability to properly evaluate and control the cause of your emotions. And in that case, it means that if, as we are here, somebody passes a comment that, is derogatory, I shouldn't take it for myself and begin to now lose the state of joy or happiness that I have while in this meeting. Because the person passed the comment, probably it wasn't directed at you. So even if it was directed at you, your ability to now evaluate that information and not let it affect you is something that shows your ability to self-regulate. And in the context of learning, when we talk about self-regulated learning, and you teach that to the children, the students, you teach them how to sit down and set questions for themselves. You teach them how to set a timetable, how to, learn on their own, do their homework at a particular time. It is you helping them to regulate their learning behavior. So they do not now rely on teacher coming to class before they learn, mommy coming back home before they do their homework. They can regulate their own learning. And one way we can regulate our own emotions is through mindfulness. And we'll get there in a jiffy. And the last component is the social skills. Our ability to form healthy relationships is a sign of emotional intelligence. And the APA dictionary once again defines these social skills as a set of learned abilities. So these are abilities that you learn, skill sets that you learn, so that it can help you to interact with other people well. So you don't have a good case to say that me, I don't know how to talk to people. Oh, that is how I am. Oh, me, once we are talking, if you say something I don't like, I'll give it to you there and then. No matter who is there, I'll give it to you. No, you can learn how to manage that situation better. It is a skill that you can learn. It's something that you can work on. How to be tolerant of other people's view. You can be having a conversation with certain people and you cannot even make a statement. By the time you are halfway, they interrupt you. It's like they can't allow you to also share your viewpoint. That is a lack of emotional intelligence, because at the end of the day, you are not stepping into the other person's world to see that their inability to share their thoughts is something that is frustrating them. And once they are frustrated, they will get to the point where they will, put up an action that later they may regret. And I'm someone who likes watching these news review and, political panel discussions and all. And there are quite a number of instances where the panelists, very learned people, you realize that they now start, throwing words at each other and sometimes even get a bit physical on set, on national TV, because one person was not able to recognize that what they were doing was getting the other person angry. Or they even saw it, but because of the lack of emotional intelligence in that particular moment, they didn't process the emotional information that was coming from the other panelists, and they kept doing what they were doing until that person decided to make the whole show, ungovernable. So These are the 5 key facets of emotional intelligence. And in this particular session, we are trying to see how mindfulness can be a key way of building our emotional intelligence, particularly in these key areas. I'll respond to the message in the chat shortly. Now, what is mindfulness? We have spoken about the emotional intelligence. What is mindfulness? When we say mindfulness, it simply means your ability to stay in the present moment with what you are doing in that particular instance without being distracted, or, as we have said, allowing your mind to wander into things and thoughts that are not needed in the moment. So if I am learning, if I am mindful, what we mean is that your focus is on the subject you are learning, the topic you are learning, and you are in what we call flow. So are you really engaged? You see in this image, this gentleman, behind his laptop working on something. And this posture is something that is depicting being in a state of flow. It's like the focus, the concentration is on what is being done, whatever, he's engaged in. The image on my right, which is on your left, you see the waterfall and how it is flowing. It is in a state of flow. Anything that comes around within that particular zone will be will be wiped off. It comes down and it will not get stuck. It will not get stuck on that particular fountain. So there's the flow happening. So whatever is coming is just flowing. So in mindfulness, there are thoughts that will come. We are not saying that if you are in this meeting, you will not think for a moment about what time you will sleep. Your mind will not wander to what time it is. Your mind will not wander to tomorrow and the fact that you have to wake up early. It will happen. But mindfulness is your ability to allow those thoughts to just pass by without evaluating them, staying on them, or being distracted from what you are doing. And as we mentioned, in emotional intelligence, your ability to identify, process, and use emotional information to manage your own behavior now is important. So paying attention to your thoughts and feelings, as well as to the external environment in a non-reactive manner, non-judgmental manner. So that takes us to the question in the chat where Selassie is asking, I think letting your mind wander can provide a mental escape from stresses and life's difficulties. That is true. Sometimes when our minds wander, it offers a temporary reprieve, temporary, that is the key word, and allows us to return to challenges with a fresh perspective. Wandering tends to be a coping mechanism for me sometimes, and that is fine. However, in the context that we are discussing, if you talk about allowing your mind to go on to something else, so if I'm engaged in a task, I'm so tired. So in learning, you have been learning for 1 hour and you decide that, oh, I want to let my mind go on to something else. Probably listen to a music for some 10 minutes, or talk to somebody over the phone, or go and walk a little and get my mind onto something else so that I'll be refreshed and I come back. That is not really mind wandering in the context of cognitive functioning. What we say is that you have taken a mental break. So the mind is not wandering to things that interfere with what you are doing now. So it's not like I am thinking about a lot of things while still in this meeting. That is mind wandering. Taking a mental break is when you decide that I've gotten enough or too much information now. Let me pause and do something else that will refresh my mind, and then I come back to the particular task that I'm engaged in. So in school, that is why we have break time. So the students will come, do a first lesson, and go for a break, or 2 lessons, go for a break, come back. It is so that the mind will now move to another activity that is probably about playing, and then it gets reset, comes back, and then continues. If you want to sleep or rest a little during that break, you do so. It is an important stress reliever, taking mental breaks, or what we call power naps. Power naps. So during the course of your day at work, you've been doing a lot. You've been behind the machine for a long time. During the time for lunch, you don't use all the time for eating. Maybe 20 minutes, you use it to come and sit down, put your head on the table, and you are not sleeping in the sense of, having a good night's sleep, but you are just taking a rest so that your brain activities, will be a bit reset and you feel a bit refreshed. That is taking a mental break or taking a power nap in the case of taking a short rest. In the case of mind wandering, that is not in mindfulness. If you are engaged in a mindfulness related exercise, you are paying attention to the present. You are staying in the activity you are doing. You are in the here and now. So if I'm, as we would find, doing positive visualization, I am visualizing an exact thing. We'll look at the steps shortly, so that at the end of the day, it helps me to be present. There may be a thought that comes about something that my boss said I should do that I have not done. I have not done. That is okay. Let it flow. Let it pass by. Don't stay on it and begin to now think about, hey, what will she say? And why haven't I done it? And before you realize, your mind begins to move away from that important activity you are doing to becoming anxious about something that you probably do not have control over in the moment. So staying in the present by paying attention to your current state, your current environment, and where there are things that are not needed in your present moment of relaxation or trying to get your mind calm, you let them pass through and just flow away. Don't focus on them. Don't pay attention to them. Don't attend to them. It's just like I am in class listening to the teacher teaching, and then an aeroplane passes by. If I am mindful in that meeting, what it means is that I stay on the teacher and what they are saying. Probably I'll raise my hand and ask a question so that it will keep me in the here and now. The plane, yes, I heard the sound, but I don't let my mind wander into, hey, this plane, what color is it? I went to look at it, and oh, last time I flew in a plane, or I boarded a plane, or sometime in my future, I want to be in a plane. Once you go on that trajectory, we say your mind is wandering from the activity that is supposed to be done here and now. And that is what the research work we spoke about, where we say the wandering mind is an unhappy mind tried to do. So there's an activity you are involved in. What activity is it? Is your mind on something rather than what you are doing? So basically, mind wandering, Selassie, is about the mind and your thoughts going to things that are not needed for your current activity or your current moment. And someone is asking about multitasking. So if I'm doing 2 different things at the same time, you can be driving while listening to music and all that. You are engaged in multiple tasks. That is a different ball game altogether. Multitasking is one of our cognitive abilities. But mindfulness in this case would say that focus on the driving, stay in the here and now, the moment of your driving, be in a state of flow so that you don't get distracted by the lyrics of that song you are listening to. If the lyrics are not distracting you from what you are doing, we are safe. But if at the end of the day, the focus moves away from the driving and the road, then you are no longer in a state of flow. You are no longer mindful in the moment. You are far away on something else. So there are 5 key areas we will talk about. We'll talk about positive visualization and loving kindness meditation, and we are done. So the first key area of mindfulness, when we say you are mindful or you should practice mindfulness in whatever activity that we'll look at, the first key thing is observation, which relates to the self-awareness component. And observation is saying that you should be able to identify what is happening in your mind. What am I thinking about now? So if I ask you, what are you thinking about now? Can you say what you are thinking about now at this moment? How are you feeling now? Can you be able to say it? What do you feel within yourself? I feel some rambling tummy. I feel this, some headache here and there. Are you able to observe what is happening with you internally and around you externally without necessarily letting that thing affect whatever task you are engaging? So as I'm teaching, am I able to observe that I am in this moment thinking about that student who is stubborn, and I'm thinking about how I'll punish him or her the next time, or I'm traveling to a certain place tomorrow morning. My thoughts are currently there. Or I had a quarrel with my spouse or my child or a friend, and I don't know how I'll behave or what I'll do when I meet them after closing. Am I able to observe exactly what is happening in my thoughts? If not, you take your time, spend some time, as we mentioned, for self-awareness, to reflect, do some introspection. So being like a neutral observer of your thoughts and your feelings. And there's this thing we call psychological distancing or self-distancing. A lot of times we are not able to tell what is happening with us, but we can observe what is wrong with someone else, or how maybe they could have done things in a different way as an external person. So if you tell me an issue you have, for the most part, I can punch the holes in where probably you could have done things in a different way. But if it comes to me and my issue or my problem, a lot of times we are not able to identify where we could have done things right. So in psychological distancing or self-distancing, what we are saying is that look at your situation as a third party. Observe as though you are a neutral person who is watching another person speaking, and then somebody passed a comment that the person didn't like. So what is now happening to this individual as a result? That kind of introspection from a neutral standpoint can help you to identify what your thoughts are in the moment, what your feelings are, what your sensations are, and what is happening around you without necessarily passing a judgment. And in observing, being able to describe what is going on. So I can see that my self-confidence is going down while I am talking, or I can see that while partaking in that particular activity, my interest in it, began to go down. So you are able to describe exactly what is happening in moment by moment. Give a description without, as we said, passing a judgment or being critical about it. Then we are saying that you should take mindful actions, including the positive visualization we'll talk about in a moment. Being aware of what you are doing and doing it intentionally. So if I need to take a break, I'm having a conversation or I'm listening to a particular story or news item, and it's getting me angry, probably, the ECG issues, and you are listening to the ECG boss or somebody talking about doomsday, and it's just irking you, it's making you get angry. And mindful action will be to switch off, or turn away from that particular station. It is an intentional action you are taking to make sure that you do not get to that level where you are so angry that you end up even displacing it onto other people who do not deserve your anger. Some people are angry while they are moving, while they are in their car, their car going. They are angry. Somebody, annoyed them, and they were not able to take a step that will help them to leave it at home. And being non-judgmental with the whole bit, we have spoken about that. So you do not say that, I feel terrible for not responding in a good way. What you should say is that I did not respond in a good way. You don't pass that judgment on yourself in the moment, because that can affect how you end up feeling about yourself and influence however the conversation goes. And the last bit is non-reactivity. When you are practicing mindfulness, you don't react to the thoughts, the wonderings that come. You don't react to the fact that somebody comes by and then does something that you do not like. You stay in the moment. So Esther Efua, please, when someone reacts to problems in an angry manner without any patience, do we say the person lacks emotional intelligence? So as I mentioned, there are various components to this whole emotional intelligence bit. And as we said, self-regulation is important. So if you are someone who is always reacting to situations in an angry manner, it means, number one, you have not been able to identify how you get angry in those particular situations. The self-awareness is not there. And number two, you are not able to read and understand other people's emotions. The lack of empathy comes in. You are not able to regulate your action, where I am able to prevent myself from hitting the ground, talking angrily at a person, and that is a lack of emotional intelligence. So yes, if anger is a normal emotion, as we mentioned, we all experience various kinds of emotions. But if at the end of the day, we can't regulate how the emotions affect us and affect others, then we have not mastered emotional intelligence yet. And if you are a Christian, you probably know how the Bible says that we should not let the sun go down on our anger. And when you are angry, do not let it lead you into sin. So basically talking about how we can regulate this emotion called anger so that it then doesn't end up causing distraction. And later we regret it. Somebody will kill somebody in their moment of anger and later regret it. If they had mastered that self-awareness over time, taking time to introspect, look at how they get angry in whichever situations, and speak to somebody who can help them to see how they've been reacting in certain situations, I'm sure over time they would have mastered how to regulate that anger. So we do anger management therapy for people, and it includes how to become more mindful of their actions and be able to observe their emotions in the moment. So let's look at the two key mindfulness practices that can help us to become more emotionally intelligent. The first one is positive visualization. And positive visualization is a mindfulness exercise that you can practice at any time, every day, and it gradually improves your emotional intelligence, your ability to identify your emotions, process them, and use them to manage your actions and that of others. So what happens with positive visualization is that you picture something that is more positive. So if I'm going through a period of anxiety, I'm anxious about quite a number of things. There's an exam coming, there's an interview coming, there's something that you need to do, but you are feeling really uncomfortable about it. Positive visualization can help you to stay in the present and be able to manage self-regulation, manage your emotions and how they will affect you going forward. So instead of getting fearful and jittery and all that, so that you can't perform at your best, you can control that and now rewire intentionally how your brain processes whatever is coming up. And naturally, whenever we face a situation that is stressful or is something that we feel is beyond us, we are not so comfortable about, we get our stress hormones, on a rampage. So your stress hormones, your cortisol, your adrenaline, noradrenaline levels will go higher because the brain is processing the information, the event, or whatever in a very negative manner. So it's like your brain is sending signals. A brain portion, the amygdala, which is in charge of emotion regulation, is sending signals that there's trouble. You can control that signal by positive visualization. And so you wake up in the morning, early in your morning, when everywhere is quiet, you either sit down, you probably lie down, be in a posture that is comfortable, be in a quiet place. And once you get yourself in that quiet, you, as much as possible, try to be relaxed. So if it is about lying on your bed that will make you relax, that's okay. If it's sitting in a chair, just make sure you are comfortable and close your eyes if you are comfortable doing so. But if you are afraid somebody will come and slap you or do something to you, that in itself will mean that when your mind is trying to be mindful, it will be wandering onto what could probably happen next. So you can keep your eyes open if that is what will help you to stay here and now. So keep relaxed and take in some few breaths. So the deep breathing we do, you breathe in, hold, and release, just to get your body to be relaxed. When we breathe in, what happens is that we initiate a certain relaxation response. And we probably don't need to go so much into that, but there's this relaxation cycle that we set in motion, where now instead of the panic or the anxiety, the discomfort, that thoughts about what can happen or events of the future and all that can make us go through, we are now bringing the body back to calm. You are triggering that relaxation response. So your parasympathetic nervous system is activated, a system that within your nervous, structure, your communication structure, that helps to bring your body back to calm. So taking that deep breath, is a way that helps your body to relax and you get calm. Now, with your eyes closed, feeling relaxed, you want to determine something that you can think about, focus on, that will help you to feel positive emotions. And in the area of positive psychology, from a man called Martin Seligman, maybe later you can do some reading on a model called the PERMA model, PERMA. You may do some reading on it. The first component is positive emotions, and it tells us how we can trigger positive emotions by intentionally focusing on things that can make us happy. So clearly define something that you want to achieve through your visualization. So if it is an examination that I'm getting uncomfortable with, and because of that, my emotions are on a rampage, such that although I am intelligent intellectually, I may end up getting into the exam room and freeze. So I'm now going to look at a journey in my mind where I have gone to write that exam, sitting there, I'm relaxed, and I get a good result. So that is my goal. That is my outcome, to help me become comfortable with the idea of going to write an exam so that I can regulate or control my emotions related to that exam. So I have clarified what I want to achieve. Now, I need to now create the mental image. And thankfully, we have a powerful brain. Our brain is able to create memories that have never existed. And that is why you can create a picture of your future and begin to smile just because you have been able to imagine yourself in a certain, country, and, that just makes you smile. As you are sleeping, you have a dream, and in your dream, you are eating your favorite food. Somebody who is standing by probably will be able to tell you when you wake up that you were smiling while you were sleeping. And it could be because in that moment where you were smiling physically, there was a very positive, dream going on. So create that detailed mental image that you want. Visualize you going into that exam room. So I'm seated with my eyes closed. I'm in that exam room. I have met some of my friends. We are laughing, and you are picturing it. Your mind may wander to the lecturer or teacher that is wicked. Just as we said, let it flow. Don't focus on it. You have the ability to do so. Yeah, so the audio will be shared. Don't worry. You have the ability to control. So someone asked whether you can stop your mind from thinking about something. Yes, you can. It's something that we have the ability to do, but we must learn to consciously be doing it. So as I am picturing myself, I start from home, I sit in a Trotsky, or if you are driving, I've sat in my car, I'm on the way listening to some music, my favorite music, that tells me probably I am a winner, I am a champion. I'm picturing myself in that detailed mental journey. I get to the exam room, I meet one of my favorite lecturers or teachers, they wish me well, they say I'll do well, and I enter the exam room, I see the questions, and I'm happy because they are questions I can solve. And I do what I can, I finish, I'm happy, I go away, I go and eat some food, I get back home. So you are creating that detailed imagery that helps to create a new sensation. Your brain now begins to process the exam in a more positive light. So your amygdala, which processes information about emotion, will no longer be sending a distress call to your hypothalamus. It's like a commander, your brain region that triggers your stress response. Instead of sending that stressful cry, about the exam, now you have created an imagery that your brain begins to process over time. The more you are doing that, it changes your emotions in relation to the exam. So you are, number 5, engaging your emotions while you go on that journey. connect, feel the joy, the satisfaction, the same way you can recall a movie that you watched 10 years ago and how it made you feel. Is the same way you can also recall something, positive that either has happened or not yet happened. You have the ability to do so. Unfortunately, many times we focus on the negative ones. So instead of doing a positive visualization, we are visualizing the negative outcome. So we say you are engaging in what we call catastrophizing. You are only connecting to the negative possibilities. Mindfulness in the case of positive visualization is that do that activity and focus on a journey where you are thinking of a positive scenario, and you do that in the morning, do that in the evening, do that in the morning, during the course of the day. You do that positive visualization and you use positive affirmations. So I will pass these exams, I will do well in this interview. Yes, I'm struggling financially. That is true. That is good. But I will get better. And you are visualizing yourself in that business, probably speaking well with your customers, and they recommending other people. And you visualize the whole process of more customers coming. And that would change your emotional interactions with other people. So your social abilities, the social skills in emotional intelligence, how you relate with the other people would begin to change because of all these that you are doing. So there are challenges that will come along the line. Overcome it. So using the same example of the examination, because exam anxiety is something that quite a number of us can relate with. Probably as you are doing your visualization, you realize that there's a question that is difficult. Maybe you did not go over it or you don't understand it. Visualize yourself going to another question, answering that question, and in the course of that, you remember what exactly to do for the other question. Or although you have not read on that, because it's a compulsory question, you've been able to put an answer that makes sense. So see yourself overcoming the potential challenges that may come. Yes, at the end of the day, the fact that you did your positive visualization, you stayed positive in that journey, that imagery, it's not a guarantee that whatever activity you will go and do, you will pass or you do well. You may go and still struggle with the exam. But what it does is that before the examination, the emotions with you, the negative emotions, you will be able to, as we mentioned in emotional intelligence, become aware of what is happening and why you are anxious. And you'll be able to now motivate yourself, self-motivation, through the positive affirmations you are using and staying positive throughout your visualization. And you can now regulate how you feel about the exam. When you finish and maybe the result comes, the level of disappointment you may have, the impact it will have on you negatively may be minimized because of the kind of positive energy you attach to the activity. My loving kindness, my meditation is, another one which we'll end with. And in that, loving kindness means that you are in the same way, you can sit, you can lie, and you can do this morning, evening, at a time that is quiet. And once you are comfortable, you focus on yourself and you speak things about yourself that you want to see. So somebody may say, may I be happy, or I will be happy, depending on which way you say it. Somebody will say it is more stronger to say, I will be happy, I will be healthy, I'll be wealthy, I will be safe, wherever I'm going, I'll be accepted. So the self-talk you are having is what we focus on in loving kindness meditation. So you show yourself kindness, you show yourself love. So the focus is on me. I speak to myself. And what I'm doing is that I'm pushing words, I'm pushing phrases or affirmations about myself that will help improve my self-perception, my self-image, and my esteem. And once I'm doing that, I can now move from focusing on myself to other people, my friends. So my friends will do well. My children will excel in school. My husband, my wife will become better and better. My business will improve. You are saying these things while you are relaxed with your eyes closed, as much as you can, as many times as you can. And it can even go to people that you don't like, including your enemies. So in the scriptures, we understand Jesus telling us to even pray for our enemies. The fact is that it is difficult to wish your enemy well. But if you don't like somebody and meeting them makes you get angry such that you can even, mess up in an activity or task you were supposed to do, then it is not helpful. So in your loving kindness meditation, you extend the loving kindness to the person, that this person will change. I appreciate this person despite their actions, and I believe that they will become a better person. I'll keep praying for them. So you are extending these positive affirmations onto the person. If you have a pet, you can extend to your pet, extend to all kinds of things. Your car, I have a beautiful car. Anytime I sit in the car will not, develop a fault. It will always be functioning well. It does not mean that automatically everything will go right in your life. What you are doing is that you are trying to keep your emotions always positive and always optimistic, so that in being able to regulate your emotions, it controls your behaviors and how you relate with other people. So that is the loving kindness meditation. I'll send the slide, I'll send the audio so we can go over again in a more relaxed manner. So I'll take the rest of the questions in the chat, and then we'll take some contributions and questions. So is observation a key skill needed in building emotional intelligence? Yes, we mentioned it's one of the key components of mindfulness, being able to observe. And how do you observe? You sit down and you write down, or you sometimes even discuss with another person. So often when we are in a meeting and I'm talking, what do you usually see? I realize that people say, I don't know how to take other people's opinion. Frankly or sincerely, I want you to tell me, what have you been observing? Anytime I'm saying something and somebody interjects, what do you observe about my mood? And then let them tell you. So we should either do that introspection ourselves, or speak to somebody who you believe can be frank with you without necessarily, making you feel bad and all that. So a good friend will be good, or somebody that you realize is a more tolerant person. So what have you been observing? Your spouse, is there something about how I talk that you do not like, that easily makes you angry or makes you feel less important? Ask the person. And we should also be frank with people when they want to find out how exactly we think or feel about certain actions they take. That is something that can help you, so that you build that self-awareness through observation, and you'll also be able to take the mindful actions that can help you to not get carried away by your emotions and just do things reactionary and later regret. I've responded to the multitasking. Please, is it okay when you want to remain in a mindful state, if let's say a thought comes to mind and to help you come back, you attend to it at a later time, you jot it down? Yes, so that's a good thing. So journaling can also be an important way of, just letting that thought, the wandering thought, fade away. So you note it down somewhere and then you remain focused on what you are doing, the positive affirmations you are saying and all that. You just write what wants your attention but is not needed. You write it down and then move on. So can we say the mind wandering, this is from Ikejem. Can we say the mind wandering from a particular activity that ought to have utmost focus on is a deficiency? Not necessarily to use that word deficiency. That may be too strong a word. We will say that it is not necessary for being productive in the moment. So that mind wandering from what you are doing now, which is an important activity or something that is supposed to get your attention now, the thoughts that are coming are intrusive thoughts. They are intruders. And if you have an intruder and you focus on the intruder, you lose sight of what you are supposed to pay attention to. So it is not needed. Allow it to just pass through and go. Don't focus on it. And this is something that we have the mind and the power of the brain cognitively to do. Can you stop? Yes, can thought stopping be a mindful action? Yes, so there are quite a number of thought stopping actions, and that can include in the mindful period that you are going through. If a thought comes that is not needed, well, it's telling you that you fail that exam. I will not fail that exam. I cannot fail that exam. I will do well. You are intentionally, mindfully, the mindful action component, stopping that thought right there and then. So the affirmations you are saying are important in that stopping of the negative thought. Maddie, I'm currently reading a book that draws attention to the thought bias and being able to identify problems that leads to different kinds of temperament. My question is it everything that we feel that becomes a reality, or what we think runs through our heads and makes our minds wander in areas of these thoughts always true? So it's not always true. It's not every thought and every feeling that is a reality. And this is something that is, I'm sure, a universal fact. The fact that, and we say don't judge a book by its cover, because sometimes what you see is not all there is. And so the fact that there's this thought that has come, that this individual that is looking all dark and not smiling is an intolerant person, it may not translate. You get closer to the person and you realize that they are one of the most friendly people you find. So it's not everything we feel about situations that is real. Sometimes you feel a certain way about somebody and you are proven wrong. And so it's not all that we feel that is the reality. And it's not every thought that comes to mind that is real. And the fact that you can have dreams and you physically experience the consequence should tell you that certain things, at the end of the day, they affect us, but they are not actually real.
God willing, on the 28th of April, it's also a Sunday, we are doing CPD for professional counselors. And it is displayed there, as you can see. It's accredited by Ghana Psychology Council, and it's 4 credit points going for 150 cedis. So a link will be sent if you want to participate. You join this one. It will not be free participation. You need to pay before you participate, because a professional course channel at professional counselors. If you are not a professional counselor or a trained counselor, you want to participate, you need to register. This one is not free entry. Again, to see we are also on our admissions, still admitting people for our May certificate in counseling program. We have run down 50% discount. So if you are interested to, on the link, the registration link is there in the chat. Register that. Okay. Once again, I want to thank our brother so much for such a wonderful presentation. When you sleep, remember to pray for to see, remember to pray for wisdom. I mean, when I say wisdom, I mean wisdom kujoji, not wisdom as we request from the Lord. So let's pray for our presenter. He's doing so well, and all others that have been prepared to help us. I hand over to you, Wisdom, if there's any other thing you want to say.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. And thank you all for joining. There's a lot that this topic is not a one session topic, but I believe that what we have discussed is something that you reflect on later, and it will help us. The audio we posted, I'll send a slide as well, and I'm sure that the more we talk about these things and get it inculcated within our schools and our homes, we'll have a more emotionally intelligent society, and people will do things in a mindful way rather than just, out of reacting unnecessarily. Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Yeah.